So if you've been listening to this channel, you more than likely have heard that God of War was in the works in Amazon for a long time now, but unfortunately it kind of took a hit, and we're basically finding out God of War TV series hitting the reset button after the departure of showrunner and producers. The God of War series previously announced for Prime Video is hitting the reset button, a report by Deadline. By the way, again, if Deadline is reporting this, it is 100% factually true. Deadline rarely gets anything wrong with its stories. So if you see Deadline reporting a story when it comes to like movies, shows, or any of the sort when it comes to Hollywood, yeah, that Deadline is usually spot on. Separately confirmed by IGN reveals that Sony Pictures and Amazon MGM are planning to hire new writer rooms following the departure of showrunner Rafi Jins and executive producer Hawk Osby and Mark Fergus, who are said to have written several scripts for the show's first season. According to the report, Sony and Amazon are apparently looking to take the series in a new creative direction, though it's unclear what the direction might be. So, from what I read from this article, PlayStation and Sony were really satisfied with the scripts and the way it was written, and it kind of makes me come to a couple of conclusions on why it could have been this show was rebooted and kind of hitting the reset button. The number one that I can think of at the top of my head, like right away, is budget. They wrote a script that just didn't match side by side with the budget of what they wrote in the script, and they're like, you guys said you were going to give me AAA money, and we wrote a AAA script, but now you're giving us AAA money. So like, they were satisfied with the script, and that's probably why, that's like the most likely reason why God of War is being delayed and reset. Not delayed, but reset and start from scratch. I hope it's not that, because God of War deserves at least $100 million budget, and at the very most a $200 million budget, because God of War, if you haven't played God of War and God of War Ragnarok, the new games that came out in 2018 and 2023, they are a high budget movie. So if you don't give it a high budget, I can understand why they restarted it. The second one is that the producers, directors, and all that couldn't come to a conclusion of, okay, this is a great script, but it's not exactly God of War, and it doesn't exactly live up to what we want. The Last of Us has a lot of changes, an example, and the changes are all good, and the core of The Last of Us is still The Last of Us. Everything that is The Last of Us, even with the changes that they make in the movie, is still good. And I hope that that's not the reason, because if that is the reason, it more than likely was a clash between Cory Barlog, Sony, and the executives that were the producers and the directors and writers that were making the show. And this doesn't live up to, this is a great script, but it doesn't live up to what we want God of War to be. And to be honest with you, God of War doesn't really need that many changes. It's good already as is. So more than likely, that's my second most what might have happened behind the scenes with God of War. The third one might be is just it was scheduling conflicts, and they kind of weren't able to get the script as fast as they wanted or as clean as they wanted. That is the least likely one to me, because they were pretty much given all the time in the world. So I don't think it's that. It's probably the first two, and to be honest with you, it's probably the budget, because a lot of streaming services, we're no longer in the golden age of streaming. Streaming is no longer cheap, and it's no longer giving high budgets to just anything like the way it used to. We see the Horizon show being canceled by Netflix, which, by the way, thank God, because Netflix is so hit or miss when it comes to their shows. I hope somebody else picks that up. And the reason why they canceled that is because if you look at Horizon is not going to be a cheap show to make. It is a very expensive. Every other shot in the show has some kind of giant robotic dinosaur in it, and it's kind of expensive. So if they were going to make that show, it more than likely had to be a $200 million show with a lot of high CGI, which was going to take not only a lot of money, but a lot of time and manpower to make. And they just didn't want to risk that with everybody. Now, Netflix, Apple, HBO, I'm not sure if Amazon said this, but they're all saying that they're not going to spend as much money as they used to when it came to kind of budgeting and the The inside thing is that they're trying to wait to 2025 to see what happens in order to see how streaming services are going to move forward with trying to like kind of like see how much money they should spend to see if people are like going to the movies or if they're streaming more, because right now it's kind of up in the air. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Do you think God of War is going to be made? What director do you want God of War to direct? Like I can't think of too many. And the other issue is, who's going to play Kratos? Let me know what you think in the comment section. Who do you think Kratos is going to be? And remember, you're pretty good.